Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the Roundball Ramble podcast. I'm your host, Corban Ford. You can follow me on Twitter at Corban NBA, Corban NBA. This is Sports Ethos presentation, so check out Sports Ethos on Twitter at Sports Ethos, online, sportsethos.com. Ladies and gentlemen, friends of all ages, basketball team affiliations, whatever, it's been a minute. I want to apologize. A nasty viral infection that came right after a big allergic reaction, just one thing after another, all affecting your voice. And when the thing you bring to the table is your podcasting, that could be a little bit of an issue, not being able to, talk can be fun. So sorry about that. It won't happen again. We are we're finishing this month and going into the next month and the season full steam ahead. Got some fun ideas down here to kind of cook up with Roundball Ramble in terms of some NBA draft content and just some other fun segments and features I want to put on here. So just want to apologize just wanted to start off by apologizing because, it's not great. Do a pod, want to have a regular follow, want to be consistent, and you disappear for like 2 weeks. Yikes. Not great, But thank y'all for rocking with me. Really do appreciate y'all. All right. Have a fun little show here for y'all today. Got my good friends Kelz Wilkinson and Alicia Solomonson. Think I said that right? They're friends of mine. I should know that. Yeah, I did. Anyways, we did another episode of Let's Ball Out, which, by the way, check out on its own independent podcast feed. Let's Ball Out. Fun show. 3 good friends who love basketball and have very healthy disagreements almost all the time. So definitely make sure to check it out. It's a fun episode. But in this one, we talk about kind of a recap of the season up to the date that we recorded, as well as a panic meter segment on teams that have been performing as well, and what we think is the issue, whether they can climb out of it or not, what have you. And then we closed it with just like our own little team check-in. And there's some fun mixed in, as always, with Let's Ball Out. So definitely make sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy that one. I will be back here real soon. Got a guest for a show coming up next. I got a couple solos myself coming on here, so there'll be a lot of basketball content. But again, thank y'all for rocking with me. I'm Frosty, y'all stay frosty, and sit back and enjoy. Let's ball out.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We are back like we never left. It's been a minute, it's been a while, but it is Corban, Alicia, and it's your boy, yours truly, Kelz Wilkinson, in the house because we're ready to ball out just like the beginning of the season has been outstanding, from in-season tournament to out-season tournament, for the ups and downs, the pretenders, contenders. We have it all. What is going on, y'all?
Okay.
we can't top that, bro. Like
that was it was the in-season pretenders, the out-season. I'm lost, buddy. I'm lost off the rip.
Got the splendor, pretender, yeah.
But we are back like cook crack. Okay,
1000%. We're definitely back. But what's going on? How's everybody been doing? It's been a minute.
Good on this end, changing states. Trying to get acclimated, get settled in. Basketball obviously came back in a rush, my Lakers and all the things there. So it's been up and down, but can't complain. Life,
I feel that.
Different season and adjusting to that, really.
I feel that life is lifing. Life be lifing.
Well, the season is going on, and it's still early, obviously. But I mean, there's so many different storylines from before or after the start of the season. But what has caught your eye so far in the genesis of the 2023-2024 season?
I mean, where do I start? We've missed so much, and the season's already like in play. So I guess I'll start with the changes that have happened for, Giannis in Milwaukee, and obviously, Kelz, sorry, Dame never made it to Miami. But Beal coming back last night, we first saw him in his first game with Phoenix and how that system is working with KD, and, just some of the overall changes as well with, I wanted to discuss with you guys. I don't know if you guys saw the Adam Silver interview with JJ Redick on his pod, but there was a quote that he had said, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but essentially paraphrasing what Adam Silver was saying was that he wanted to change how the NBA media covers basketball, and he wanted to be more like the NFL. And what I took from that, I can respect what he's saying, because I understand watching the bigger market shows as in TNT and on ESPN, they don't get so in depth with the basketball coverage and more of just the surface level and fluff of how basketball is being covered. And unless you know, you know. So unless you're tuned in with JJ Redick and what he's doing over with his pod, and now he has Nikias and Steve over there with the dunker spot. If you listen to Zach Lowe, if you listen to Tim Legler, like there's certain people who do cover basketball in a minute way that you can get all of the ins and outs of basketball coverage of what we want. But I think there is a lack, and it's just a disconnect. I don't know if it's just the network covering these things, but because NFL Live, like that's a good product, I would say. Like if you're a football fan, you can watch NFL Live no matter who's on, from Marcus Spears to Don Orlovsky. Like they covered the game so in depth that you get such an understanding of what you're watching on a week-to-week basis in football. And there's other sports that do coverage too, but I think with the NBA, sometimes when you have players of a certain caliber that are covering the game, this is no disrespect to the Shaqs and the Charles Barkley, but it can get very much, this guy has to play hard. This guy needs 28 and 17. You can't be shooting a lot of threes.
Yeah.
We know that you guys know the game much more. We want to know why this pick and pop didn't work, why this zone defense set up the way they did. Like I feel like that's the coverage more of what Adam Silver is talking about. So I want your guys' perspective too on what possibly could they change in terms of just overall NBA coverage for mainstream media, because we have it in, like I said, if you know, you know, there's certain people who cover the game really, really well. But I think as for mainstream casual people, how do we get that out there so that they can understand the game of basketball, not just who made a shot and not, like understanding what we're watching on the court?
That's an interesting take, Alicia. Because I guess, and it's not a bad thing. I guess you could say it's a blessing and a curse with the NBA, because it seems like a lot of the stuff that you would see on the mainstream, like the ESPNs of the world, is more so like a reality TV show storyline type of deal, and it's always a story. It's not necessarily the ins and outs, the schematics of what makes these players great or what makes these teams great, defensively, offensively. So the in depth, and I know Kobe, rest his soul, and what he tried to do with his um, in game breakdown of different athletes and what makes them successful. I think that might be lacking, but at the same time, I mean, these storylines is what grabs the people that don't know the game of basketball too. Like I play basketball, so I understand different terminologies, different things that maybe the average Joe may not know. And I think these little storylines help. I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. Like I don't. I get what Adam is saying, and it could be like even the James Harden situation, and how that was kind of somewhat blown out of proportion, and then even to the point where the folks that are in the 76ers, like the Maxis of the world, they never even seen it as a distraction. It was more so the media that pumping out additional unnecessary things to kind of help facilitate their story or whatever storyline they want to get across. So like stuff like that needs to go, but we do like the intrigue of that storyline, of just a team playing a former player playing against a former team or something like that. I like the storyline. So I don't know, what do you think, Corban?
I kind of fall in the middle of both of you. I feel like. I mean, I feel like there's a place for all of it. Like, I don't think one needs to go an extent of the other. I just think there needs to be a balance. Like, some of that stuff is entertaining, and basketball, at the end of the day, to a certain extent, like it's entertainment, right? And that's an element that needs to be there. Whether it is discussing storylines, now it shouldn't be a whole hour of that. Like NBA Today can be sometimes or something like that. But like there's an element of that I'm interested in. If not, why do you play 2K for like GM mode? Like you make up storylines, you make up things to go with that. Like it enhances the game. Otherwise, you just play basketball just relentlessly, right? I feel like also I'm not gonna name names here, but there's a lot of people who break the game down very well, and there's like 2 or 3 especially popular folks that do, and I'm just not gonna lie, they're not entertaining. Like, great, you teaching me the game, and that's great. You sound like a school teacher. But like now you're making something that like I am actually interested in, like drone on and on. I don't mean that in a negative way, because yes, I do want to learn, but like I also want to have entertainment and excitement and passion, not just full of inside jokes and all this terminology. Like, yes, you're right. We basketball people like scratch that. Like that's what we want, And so we all watch the game. I'm sure we all, play the game. And so there's elements like Kelsey said, I didn't play at his level per se, but like enough terminology to know different things and how actions are run and whatever the case may be. But like I still want there to be some juice, some excitement, Like Kelsey can attest to it. When you are announcing the game, like I've heard some clips, like it brings the juice. Like it's like, cool. Now he hit the game shot. Let's go. It's now, and look at that beautiful screen assist to set up the, like, okay, that's great. I love it. There's a place for it. I just feel like there's a place for all of it. And I really get to have the discourse that says we need one over the other. Because usually it's the one end saying about the other end. And it's like, no, like I don't mind Charles playing who you play for. Like half the time, some of the transaction is almost like a meta commentary on the transactions in the league every year. It's become a life of its own, right? I don't mind that. I think it's kind of funny. I also don't mind, JJ Redick talking for 30 minutes about, some type of elaborate offensive scheme with Nekias Duncan. Like that is cool too. I just think there needs to be a balance of the two.
Yeah. I agree. I think a balance is important. I definitely think a balance is important. But I think if Adam Silver can find a way to continue the suspense, continue the drama, but put it in a more of a more positive light, I think that's what Adam Silver is really trying to the message that he's trying to get across. He really wants to just cut off all of the negative, like the negative looming thing of players not playing enough, like that narrative, like trying to get rid of those type of things that are not necessarily about the game of basketball itself. Like he wants to get some of that negative publicity off of the NBA. That's how I feel like he's trying to, because there's no way the NBA is juicy as it is. I mean, I think the NBA is juicy as far as the storylines is concerned. I mean, just the Dame Lillard, how things quickly went to a whole left turn, like nobody expected it, and it really was a big fu to Miami. Like that whole situation was very similar to Mitchell not going to New York, and how Utah really had two big FUs to New York. Um, but that's kind of giving the intrigue, the excitement to the game, because I'm excited to see when playoffs do come, can Damian Lillard be able to pull it off? Which I don't think he will, but that's a conversation for another day.
Here he goes already. Pow pow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But last thing I will say is I obviously the NBA has taken a life of its own, and their product is different from the NFL. So I'm not expecting the same coverage for both leagues. And I think what you're saying with storyline being the storytelling of most of the league shows is what's going to bring in the audience, is what's going to captivate them and keep them there for 30 minutes to an hour if you're a casual fan or somebody who's just watching and just wants background noise, or you're intrigued in certain things. Like I said, people who know. And so whatever content or whatever coverage that you're looking for, you will find it out there, because we're in the internet age. There's so much out there for you to consume. But what I will say is, though, for some of the bigger shows out there, I would like to see a little bit less of the fluff and a little bit more of just something with substance. Because yes, even though we're covering storylines and we're covering stories, I think, and this is no shot, but some of the analysts that they have up there don't do a great job of doing that. And these are former players. And when you watch former players, they always say, well, what gives you the right to cover this game? Or what gives you the right to say X, Y, and Z? And it's like, but you're not even seeing anything of substance. Like sometimes I feel like it could be in an elitist game where a lot of the older players or former players have with people who cover the game and watch the game. So I think there's a lot that's of layers that are going on in there. But I think that the coverage can be better for some of the bigger networks like ESPN or TNT. Even though TNT has been a well-oiled machine for the past 20 years, let them do what they do. Charles got $200 million for a reason. So I'm not even going to touch that. But I do think when we see other networks, they can do a better job of covering the game overall. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I think we need more Jay Williams of the world. I think he's extremely articulate in how he breaks things down. No, guys. Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. Oh, no. Listen, DJ Williams. I'm sorry. Jay Williams is an authentic person. I will say, from what I know about Jay Williams, like, he seems authentic, right? Oh, okay. He seems authentic. He seems like somebody who, says what he feels, regardless of that. He shows some passion, some emotion. Like, I love that in an analyst. He's also the person who said that when Ime Udoka was hired, that he was the first head coach of color for the Celtics, which was hilarious to me because obviously, like, Bill Russell kind of broke the barrier, and that's like the biggest one. I'm just saying, like Jay Williams is a good guy, from what I know. But I do not consider him like a stellar analyst. Now, is he better than like a Kendrick Perkins? Yeah, I think. But the bar's
that's
why
I said there's levels of people who we watch. So, from Jay to Kendrick Perkins to even Richard Jefferson, and that, like, there's levels to people who analyze the game and make it fun and make it appointed to watch the game. But then there's some who I just feel like they just call them because their name was so big when they were playing, and now they're doing this because it's a good side hustle. So I'll keep my commentary on certain people because we can talk about behind the scenes, but I just feel
let's
like
ball out after dark. That's what that sounds like.
Let's ball out after dark.
That sounds like a Patreon thing right there.
Facts. Listen, we need a paywall for that because I have some thoughts.
Straight up, yeah. No, I agree. I just think, the amount of players who, it's almost like players who become GMs, right? And like, oh, they were a great player, they'll be a great GM. No, that's not how it works, right? Same thing with like commentary, analysis, all of that. Like, just because he played well or didn't play well. No, I think it's definitely something, like Alicia said, there's some nuance there, some stuff to pick apart. Probably don't have time to do it this show, but yeah. Jay Williams, listen, I respect it. I will say that I respect it. I disagree, but I respect it.
Okay, we're still talking about Jay Williams. Yeah, apologies, had a very important phone call. And I had to answer. But no, I do want to say, and we're switching forward to a different topic. We've seen the draft class. This is a draft class that is generational. We already know the Victor Wembanyama's of the world, et cetera, but the spur of young talent that's coming in. Now, I remember speaking last year that Anthony Edwards was going to have his breakout year. This was going to be the year, especially after, what he's done against the Memphis Grizzlies and then bringing the Timberwolves to the playoffs, a team that rarely sees the playoffs, and he's going to be that next guy. And last year, he did not things did not go to fruition, but the flip definitely switched in the offseason coming into this season, and he's a dog. But let's talk about the young talent that is in this NBA. And it seems like the Jason Tatums of the world are now almost that older class. Like, we still have so much young talent, younger than Jason. But who are players that you're really excited to see and flourish and grow that has caught your eye so far, maybe this year?
I mean, besides the obvious and Victor and just him being a rookie and him going through his ups and downs the last couple of games, which he's going to do for the rest of the year, I say Detroit. Jalen Duren had a great start. Cade went off last night as well. Like, I feel
Thompson twins.
Asor. I feel like there's a lot of young talent that it's just like they're on shit. I don't want to say shit. They're on crappy teams. Okay. You got what I was trying to say. They're on crappy teams. So it's hard to like watch some of the offense that is happening because it's just like, bro, what is going on? But I think that they're figuring it out. And especially with a team like Detroit, like I said early on, Jalen Duren was like shooting 80% from the field. He was just going to the rim, getting those shots up. I think Monty is going to do a great job. He got a big contract, obviously, for a couple of years. So he's going to be there, settle in for a while with that team. But I think Monty is a great coach and a person who can be able to kind of mold some of these young men into where they can be in the league in terms of their potential talent. Like you mentioned, Ant has been in the league for a couple of years now. So it's just like he is going to be ascended. And I feel like his game against Boston, like when he just did it on both sides of the court, it's like, all right, now, like,
that's the closest thing to
really
Michael
him.
Jordan. Like,
he's really him. Like, I really think that Anthony Edwards can really be that guy for the next 10 years, especially for a team like Minnesota, who, you know, obviously they're going through a little bit of I would say identity in what they are going to do.
I'm so glad you said that. I was going to say identity crisis. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you see Rudy and Kat and they're trying to make this Twin Tower thing work, which I don't think it will work long term, I think that you have to really think about what do you want? How do you want Anthony to adjust moving forward? Like, he's going to be the key star. So what is the rest of the cast is going to look like behind him is what the GM and what that organization has to think of long term. But Anthony Edwards is balling out of his mind. I would say who else? There's just a lot of Jason Tatum is in that older category. I'm not even going to put Jason Tatum in that. Jason Tatum is not young. He's like 25, 26.
Cam
Thomas. Oh man, I went to the game last night. When I tell you Cam Thomas was taking over. Cam Thomas this started last season though. This wasn't just this season, but Cam Thomas literally was just taking over the game. I think that when they couldn't find an offensive scheme, Cam Thomas was just creating his shot and going. Like, he's just dribbling, pulling up, finding that space. He has such an awareness on the court, especially offensively, that it's really disappointing to see him go down the way he did. I hope that his ankle can get better in good timing, because he is the Nets offense at the end of the day. I think that he's one of those key players. I know that they are banking on Mikal and whatever Ben Simmons is doing, and also Cam, the other Cam. But Cam Thomas is their guy moving forward, I think, for them. For and then also when Nick Claxton comes back, that can also be like a 1-2 punch that they can have with those two guys. But yeah, it's definitely, and injuries are like, they're part of the game. But yeah, those are my guys for now.
I hate to interrupt, but it's breaking news. So, Shams Charania, apparently Cam Thomas expects to miss 2 weeks with a left ankle sprain. So, literally just came in a second ago. But he's been averaging 20. Not really, especially, I mean, for Brooklyn, that's a team that really wasn't going anywhere fast, in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see how their offense runs without him, because, like you said, he has been their offense. He's averaging 26.9 points per game, which is insane. Like, absolutely insane. Dude gets buckets. So I definitely want to put that in there while it dropped. Like, that was like, wow. But speaking of like scores, I mean, Edwards, the fact that the dude is 22, like you said, and has been ascending, the dude has averaged 27.9 points per game, along with 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 51, 43, 82 shooting splits. Like, the dude's on fire. Like you said, Alicia, with that game against the Celtics, like, he's taking over entire stretches. Like you said, dominating, like you said, Kelsey, like since Jordan. I would say Kobe or Monte Ellis. I'm just kicking about Ellis. Anyway, like, you know, just taking over stretches.
Defensive end. Well, we could talk about the taking over factor, yes, but it's really that deep. The way he takes pride in defense, you see him locking down. He wants to guard Tatum in that moment. It's those things on the other end that makes me think of. No, Kobe Bryant was an excellent perimeter defender. Don't get me twisted. But when it comes to Jordan, I mean, there's just something different. And he has like the little thing around his calf or whatever. You know, almost kind of.
They got the face split. Thing done before. We've seen it. The fadeaways around the baseline.
And his explosiveness. That's the next thing. See, Kobe was bouncy, but I think Kobe was more of a. Felt like he was more of a 1-foot jumper. I feel like Anthony Edwards, he's so explosive off of 2. Cam Thomas is extremely explosive off of 2, which helps as a basketball player. When you finish off of 2, you're more balanced. Therefore, your percentage of making the basket or concentrating close increases exponentially. And I think that's what I really like about Cam Thomas, is that potential that is able to be unlocked. He's gonna be a special, special, special talent. Like I want to see him go to a team like San Antonio, ironically enough, and link up with Victor and let those two players take over the NBA. That's such a weird take for me saying that out loud, but yeah,
That is wild to hear you say that, but no,
Yeah.
like I definitely see that.
no, 100%. Well, but thinking of speaking of young talents, you have young teams. We have the San Antonio Spurs. We have the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets is a team that is intriguing to me because they have new head coach, and this is the start where I'm looking at this Houston Rockets team as the not San Antonio, Sacramento Kings of last year in the beginning, the Genesis. New head coach. They have young talent. The only thing is with Houston is they're so much younger than Sacramento. Sacramento, like Darren Fox was like what? He was probably like 26, 25, give or take last year. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how old he
yeah,
is now.
25,
So
26.
they're
Yeah.
they're a little bit more seasoned. So but they got a lot of young guns and adding Van Fleet and even Brooks, you know, you know, as antagonistic as he is, starting to develop a culture. I think we're starting to see a culture slowly develop in Houston that I like. And I also like San Antonio because San Antonio, they're going to be a very, very special team in the future for sure for so many different reasons. But Houston has my eye for at least this year to watch for. But what young team is sticking out to you guys?
Well, quickly on Houston, I'm glad that they removed themselves from the Kevin Porter Jr. fiasco that was occurring, not just from this past off season, but since he's really gotten there. And I think with them coddling, I would say mostly the situation with him for the past couple of seasons and how that really affected their team and infected their team and their culture. I'm glad that he's gone so that they can move on to develop the Jalen Greens of the world and have guys like a Dylan Brooks, even though he can be a little whatever, um, like people who have pedigree and Fred VanVleet, who's won a championship before and has been to those kind of heights, can kind of help that team develop and be who they are to be, whatever that would be in the league. So yeah, shout out to Houston for getting it right finally and making a stride to better their young guys and have some kind of stability in that organization. I would say for young teams, it's so early on. Like I said, I'm big on Detroit. Um, San Antonio is going to be San Antonio. Like they have Pop there for another couple of seasons. I really thought Pop was going to retire, and I know once they got Victor, he was like,
Oh
"All
yeah.
right, I'm back again. Like let's go. Let's run it back. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to coach this guy and also to just develop him into that system that they've had for the past 25 years." So I'm interested to see how that goes on moving forward. Utah has a good coach in Will Hardy. How that works moving forward and where they're going to go, like where they're going to be ending up playing, not, being, lower in the Western Conference, who knows? But I think they have a good foundation in Utah going on as well. So some of those teams I'll keep my eye on for the most part. I feel like it's so early on. First 20 games of the season, I'm kind of looking at specifically what my team is doing and how that trajectory is going to go. And then also relax because your team is not that great. So hold on. I'm looking at the
team check-in time is coming.
You're
team
not.
check-in time is
but I would say I'm just looking at the first 20 games though and how this is going to play out. We haven't even played 10 games yet in the league for the most part for most of these guys. So once we get past Thanksgiving and closer to Christmas, obviously, and when the season really starts, I would say it's like we get to see who teams are moving forward in the next couple of weeks moving forward.
Yeah, I just want to shout out one team. They've been interesting. They haven't been playing well, but we didn't expect them to be. But Charlotte, LaMelo Ball went off on a horrible shooting start. He's gotten a little bit better. 30-point triple-double the last couple of games. But the guy I really want to focus on is Brandon Miller. I was not high on his selection at 2. I really thought Scoot should have been there, even though I understand point guards, NBA, first year rough, right? First 2 to 3 years can be rough. But I really thought that Scoot Henderson was a better fit with LaMelo Ball than Brandon Miller was. I thought Brandon Miller is a decent, wing. Like he's fine. I just didn't see number 2 potential out of him. But his numbers don't look super great. 44% from the field, 32% from 3. But he is giving you 13 points and 5 rebounds a game, right? Like he is kind of contributing in that way. He's making the case to start. I think he will be starting for Charlotte soon. So that is something as well to point out. And so someone making an immediate impact, time will tell. It's still, like you said, Lisa, really early to figure out, okay, what team is shaping up as the best young core or whatever the case may be. But that's a guy I definitely have my eye on because he's definitely been producing, which as a rookie is something. The second guy I wanted to shout out was plays in New Orleans, and that was one Jordan Hawkins, who is averaging 12 points, 4 rebounds, and assists per game. But just a piece of random note, only 2 rookies have scored 30-plus points so far, and that's both Jordan Hawkins and, of course, Victor Wembanyama. So, he's been making an impact, too, on a New Orleans Pelicans team that, just let me know if you heard this before, they've been dealing with injuries. So, for someone, again, to step in that was really kind of looked at as like a one-dimensional shooter. You can do a little bit off of a closeout or something, but just a shooter to come in and just get buckets as a rookie immediately for a team that has some aspirations for playoff goals. Not bad. So, like I said, a little early, but those are 2 players I wanted to shout out.
Okay. So let's talk about, I guess, the biggest disappointment of the season so far, and I think this is probably more of a punishment than anything, seeing and watching a team that was supposed to be and have so much high expectations since this young man got drafted, and know that you can't do anything in Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. He just beat them last night. Desmond Bain, he's playing on a F off. He's playing on another level. But to see them start out 1-7, just as that shows how big of an impact, somewhat to a certain extent, Ja Morant, but also Steven Adams too, because obviously that is their anchor. He is the dad of the team. But man,
Dylan Brooks too.
Yes,
Dylan Brooks
but
putting the numbers in Houston. He was a big part of their culture.
I hear
better
you,
for
but
worse.
that's what adding Marcus Smart kind of helps mitigate that. You know what I mean?
You would hope so, but you saw Marcus Smart almost cry after they lost that Blazers team. Like he is not used to losing on a level like
depressed.
This at
I
all.
feel so bad for him, and the NBA is a
condition.
Yeah, that is rough. But what is your take on the 1-7 or 1-8? I'm not sure what the Heat put them to, but I just know they only have one win. The Grizzlies that are not, everybody's poking the bear. No pun intended.
Yeah, they're 1-7 right now. And I think, like you said, they're missing a lot of their core guys. Obviously, Ja Morant is the biggest one. But I think with everything that they went through in the last season and a half with Ja Morant's situation, and then, of course, changing out the guys, I don't know really where the disconnect started, to be honest. Either because they were all in on Ja Morant after the whole situation had happened. Everyone had his back, said the right things. And then obviously you get over the summer, Steven Adams injury, and then also them changing out Dylan Brooks to Marcus Smart. And that whole Dylan Brooks situation, how it ended was kind of crappy. It kind of went under the radar, and then all of a sudden, Marcus Smart got traded. But I really am trying to figure out what the disconnect is, because for everything that we're saying for the Grizzlies, when Ja Morant was missing games, we all had they were 21-3. They were 22 and everybody's fine without Ja Morant. They're still rocking and rolling, and they still have their identity for the most part, and they're playing as a team. So for all of that, and for now them to be in the position that they're in, where they can't win games, they can't close out, or they're not even in games to even have that position to close out, it's kind of like, well, what is going on down there? What is happening for them to have such a far disconnect? And I don't even know where to start. To be honest, even though the change,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Even though the change with Marcus Smart happened, I feel like Marcus Smart has always been probably the second or third guy on the team. He has not had that opportunity probably since college to be that main star on a team. Is that even his role in the league now? Like, yeah, he won Defensive Player of the Year, but I don't think that's his role moving forward. So there's a lot that has to change, and obviously John Morant coming back in the next couple of weeks or maybe in the next month and a half, that'll change, how they play. But yeah, I think once Ja comes back, we'll kind of see what team they will be.
Because I was going to ask you about the panic meter. You said a compelling statement. Like last year, they were okay without him. This year, they're not. So do we panic? Is it a panic meter? I know he's going to be coming back with still about a good 3/4 of the season to play. But is it too early to panic, or we should really start be worried here?
Panic may be an overstatement, but you are a little concerned. Your eyes, you do a little, you have a little eyebrow raised, like what the hell is going on here? Because like I said, the past season and a half when John Morant was injured before he got into his situations, we were all praising them for even having the same kind of identity without John Morant. Like they were playing so well. And obviously, like I said, Steven Adams being out and pieces being out are an issue, but you still have Jaren Jackson. What's up? Yeah. Like, where you at, my boy? Like, you're supposed to be Defensive Player of the Year. You're supposed to be that anchor. You're supposed to be that second guy. And so you need to be the one that's stepping up in slew of John Morant being out. So that's also concerning. Yeah, like there's a lot of pieces that are still on that team that were there when they were still winning. When they were all doing the gritty on the sideline and running around and having all this fun.
Yeah.
Where y'all at?
Yeah. I will say there's one big thing about that kind of goes under the gun, but like they have one of the best backup point guards in the league, like for the past 5 years. Tyus Jones.
That is
true. Tyus Jones, his numbers, I mean, even
though Washington ain't doing nothing, but that's
I was about to say, even on a god-awful Washington team, if you look at his numbers, he's averaging 9 points, 5 assists, shooting 46% from the field and 37% from three on this Washington team. Like, he's just a solid all-around guy. Now, he can't turn chicken-ish into chicken salad because otherwise Washington would be better than they are. But what he can do is obviously bring his same steady numbers, solid shooting clip, and keep that afloat. Now, granted, doesn't go against anything about Jaren Jackson stepping up, anything about the rest of that team kind of coming together, and the fact that Marcus Smart is, not crap as a player. He's a very solid player. So, that's just out the window. But I do want to give Tyus Jones a shout out because, everyone brought that up, even when they were winning, the Grizzlies are all that. I'm like, yeah, they are okay. But Tyus Jones was kind of that stabilizing force. He's been there the last 4 years or 5 years rather. You know what I mean? So I feel like that loss is bigger than people thought. But aside from that, I'm panicking a little bit. I mean, and mind you, I just feel like a lot of this is just on them. They went the route of going with young players, right? And we were all up on their – well, nope, not going to say. We were all excited about the Grizzlies front office in terms of, the way they drafted all the young guys, and they're intriguing. Oh, my goodness, the best collection of young talent and all this other things, right? That probably hadn't heard that once or twice. But the point being is now it's time for them to play, right? And it's almost like we talked the whole thing about the Golden State Warriors 2 timelines. How'd that turn out? There needs to be some of a balance there. Some of these guys aren't ready. Zaire Williams has been actually putting up decent numbers. He's not a starter. That's not his thing. He's pressing the service there, but a couple of years ago, it was Zaire Williams and this and all these players that if you say their name, it sounds really good. David Roddy and Santi Aldama, solid players again, but now they're putting roles that are bigger than they were expected to hold. And we're talking about the list of draft picks they made the last couple of years. Just sheer naming out names is great, but when it's time for them to play, we just naming out names. And so I think that's the issue as well. The depth that has been so talked about, even with massive injuries, right? At the end of the day, you lose a Brandon Clark, you lose a Steven Adams, you lose a John Moran. I don't expect
Derrick Rose hurt.
I think he was. I think he had an ankle thing. Let me check. But even then, Derrick Rose is not that guy to be playing that.
No, for sure.
He's
I'm just curious.
But no,
because I haven't heard from him.
He has a knee injury.
Okay.
So he's at least
suspected knee injury.
That's what they're saying. Left knee soreness, missed the last 3 games. But I mean, he's been 17 minutes a game, 32% from the field. Not from 3, just from the field. He's rough, And mind you, he's 34. I get it. And he's one of those guys I thought with athleticism, when it fell off, it was going to fall off, right? And I think it sort of has, especially with injury. But bottom line, I would be slightly panicked. I just think we all kind of saw this. You know, Ja Morant missed 25 games. Like, he brings a dynamic, like, ability to the roster that they lack without him in a major way, whether it's putting pressure at the rim, whether it's opening shots up for others, you know, being a volume scorer, you know, that the Grizzlies don't have. And all due respect to Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bain is playing out his mind, but without it, they're kind of lost. So I don't expect them to make the playoffs. I think this hit is a lot.
You know, so how let me phrase this hypothetical for you guys. We saw what happened with Golden State last year, and we're seeing a difference between teams from last year and this year. And the biggest difference is Jordan Poole is no longer with the organization, and that kind of was like that cancer that needed to be removed in order for the organization to thrive again. I just lost train of thought. That was crazy. Go ahead.
As you lost your train of thought, I think cancer is a strong word for Jordan Poole.
I was also
just because it was not him, it was more Draymond.
The situation. It's a situation. The situation.
Well, the situation, which was not caused by him, I would say, like, we have to be careful with our words.
Okay.
It was not him being a cancer, but I think there was a situation overall that did cause a dissension, obviously, with chemistry from the start to the finish.
Right. So then moving forward with the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm almost wondering, right, they rallied around Ja Morant last year when he got initially suspended. The team was thriving, et cetera, et cetera. But this second time around, doing something so just not smart in the moment. I'm wondering if that's kind of looming over. Between that, then you have a guy in Marcus Smart that just left from his best friends, the only organization that he knows, literally days before he got traded, or if not hours, saying how much he loves to be in the green. Then he gets traded, so he's somewhat not necessarily happy. I'm wondering if it's a perfect storm for a disaster for the Memphis Grizzlies. But I'm really more so with the Ja Morant situation. I'm wondering if that kind of changed the temperature in the locker room.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think once you had the first situation that happened mid-season and everyone rallied behind him, and, you know, he went to his 10-day therapy session and he got better and he came back and they were still supporting him. And then we see another situation happen again. It's like, all right, buddy, like, at some point, we got to have you take responsibility because you are our franchise player moving forward. And you're supposed to be helping lead the troops. You know what I mean? Jaren Jackson is not too far behind in age of him, if not the same age, close to it. So he's still dealing with being mature and who he is as a player. But I think that if your head is not at a great spot mentally and you're still in that immaturity phase, that can trickle down onto the other people that are around you. And obviously, like we said, with Dylan Brooks he wasn't the most mature player, I would say. You know, he wasn't the end all be all for that kind of face of maturity in that locker room as well. So there were a lot of people around that, even though it wasn't the most mature place, like, they still came together as a unit and worked on that and still was able to flourish even in the midst of the nonsense that they were creating themselves. So I think that it is, like you said, a perfect storm, but they have to figure out how to now navigate beyond that. How can you show moving forward who you guys are, and not as people or whatever, but who you guys are as players moving forward? Where are you guys going to expand your game? What did you guys work on in the offseason that helps to, you know, translate into the in season? What are you doing as a coach and your coaching staff that's helping to implement these guys play better and have a system and an identity on who they are, even without Ja Morant? Like, there's just a lot of questions that are happening with them as a unit.
Corban, any last words?
Agreed. I think there's a few things that have to be, like, taken down, retooled, all of that. And right now, like, you know, here they are. And as it stands, I think that they will be kind of on the outside looking in. I think that's just hole is too big, you know, for them to kind of make up ground on that.
Well, shifting to our teams here. In the off season, we thought that we would all be in different. Well, I wouldn't even say all. I know me and Corban. I thought we would be in different situations right now in regards of Lakers. They made a slew of moves in the off season to kind of help forward what was a pretty successful end of last year. The Miami Heat were positioning themselves to not only capitalize off of making it to the finals, even though they got that ass waxed by the Nuggets, but then to add a caliber, an MVP, a Hall of Fame soon to be in Dame Lillard. And so far, the Heat don't have that, and the Lakers don't look like them either. And then with the Knicks, we always knew who they were. Julius Randle, when you still have him on part of your team and he's really like almost your number one option, you're never going to survive. Jalen Brunson, I mean, I love him, and he's going to be that force that's going to take the Knicks to the next level. But as Randle is still there, Randle is still there, there's nothing that's going to happen for the Knicks. But let's go over, because this is not crying. We're not crying over here. Lakers Nation, LA stand up. Corban, talk about your Lakers and how you feel about the state of your team right now.
I do not feel good. I can say that. I think that yes, injuries have been a big deal. I think you have, the loss of, at least for the time we've had for almost 3 games, you had Rui Hachimura out with concussion protocol. Gabe Vincent's been out with a knee injury. He'll be out for a few more weeks. Like, those are people that were brought in to play, kind of major roles. Taurean Prince missed a game, and Taurean Prince is somebody that's, kind of important as well. So, like, it's one of those things where that's been bad. And, like, I don't want to understate it. But at the same time, like, let's keep it a buck. Like, they're just not playing well. Like, it's not even about injuries are a big deal. Yes, but, like, the performance they had against the Houston Rockets, 2 nights ago was kind of sad.
Yes,
it was like there was no effort
very
there.
Embarrassing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was last night, by the way. Just
I said that because by the time we drop this, see, this is the producer.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we'll say Wednesday for the record.
There you go. Anyways, but anyways, like, the level of energy, the level of effort just hasn't been there. That's been the thing. The level of urgency is probably the bigger word. Like, what happened to the team that went 14-6 the second half of the season? What happened to the team that, went all the way to the Western Conference Finals last year? Like, it's, by all accounts, a better roster than it was then. But what happened? I think the lack of urgency is there. For let's not forget the fact that AD's injured again. Abductor injury that, like, we got 5 games. That's great. Yeah. But, like, it's just not great so far. It reminds me of the Golden State Warriors without having, like, a traumatic offseason incident over the team, and that they are okay at home. Like, they can't lose at home so far. They can't win a game on the road. 0-5 on the road, 3-0 at home. Like, that's not great, Well,
you guys will get there. The Heat got their first road victory yesterday, so I mean, anything is possible. So,
I mean, yeah, the Blazers are coming up. Just forget the game they play against the Suns. But like that's the thing. But I just think that's, like, the biggest issue. But also, like, let's be real. Austin Reeves. So high on Austin Reeves. Everybody was high on Austin Reeves. He's not had a great start to the season. Like, we all just naturally assumed that he was just going to step up and get better. There's even some Austin Reeves All-Star talks. Happy to say I was not one of them. But, like, there was some talks about that coming in the season. Like, it just took on a life of its own. The problem is, like, okay, now you're a known quantity in the NBA. Like, teams are scouting for you. And yes, you were a skill-based player, and you know how to get to your spots, but you're not getting those fouls you were getting last year. You're not drawing those same looks like you were. Your shots not going down the way it was. You played heavier minutes, sticking better guards because you have to. Because it's either you or D'Lo. On a team that's Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and AD, they're not sticking those guards. There's nobody chasing around Jamal Murray like that. Going with Desmond Bane, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. Like, that's not happening. That's on you now. And the same with D'Lo, who's been like, I love D'Lo, man. I really want his Lakers tenure to end up well this second time around. But I'm not gonna lie, it's not looking great. But yeah, when neither of those guys can buy a bucket. LeBron, we make this big to-do about a minutes restriction and never touch it again because we need him on the court to win. Or even have a chance to win, rather. And then AD being injured, it's like we running it back last season, at least the first half. Mm-hmm. I'm being a little dramatic, but at the end of the day, like, this is a tougher Western Conference. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tougher Western Conference than it was last year. And yes, injuries are affecting most people. I think the Lakers will still stay in it because, like, the Suns have been out of it, and the Nuggets just lost Jamal Murray for about a month. and the
Yeah.
Clippers just lost their backup center for about, another month and a half, 2 months. So like there's gonna be injuries that affect this that I feel like it'll be kind of even if you look at the Pelicans, things like that. But you still want to play that game. Like you don't want to play that game, especially when at full strength, you weren't looking amazing.
All right. Well, I got two questions. First, where do you think they're going to finish in the West?
I'm gonna say sixth. I have them in fourth, but
Okay.
I don't know how long the injuries will last, and also I didn't expect them to be as rough out the gate as they've been.
Okay.
So I'm looking at six. I'm still looking at in the play-in. I mean, safely like outside the play-in situation. But that remains to be seen. I guess that can change.
Mm. Okay. Well, and then last but not least, just you can just say yes or no question. Does Austin Reeves have a higher ceiling than Tyler Hero?
Yes.
Whew, delusional. All right. Go
Ah!
to Alicia. That's crazy. We're not gonna
Why would
get
you?
into that.
Well, wait. Why
But
would you?
that's
I mean, Austin Reeves does well. Okay, I can't say it this year. Why would you ask an intentionally inflammatory question like that right now?
because
Like
I
Tyler
wanted you
Hero is
to
one
admit
dimensional to me. Like
either you
he's a
sound like a
very,
dumbass, you sound like
but
a
I don't
dumbass,
like.
or you admit that I'm right because no the
All
ceiling
right,
is not even
let me say
close.
this. Let me say this. It's too early to tell.
Not even close. Cause
I,
we saw what Hero did in his second year. Stop it. Finals 2020. Let's not even go
I
there.
mean, he averaged 15 points and 5 assists. Like, I'm sorry, you play with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo like you on a weaker Eastern Conference. Good, you can mean mug and everything. What happened in the finals, by the way?
The
Anyway,
Lakers beat the Heat.
yeah.
Yes,
So like, we saying that like he did a whole lot. He kind of disappeared in the postseason that year anyway.
the question was Austin Reeves and Tyler Hero. Don't know where Lakers versus Heat got into the
Well,
argument
you
of the
mentioned you
2020
threw in a
finals.
finals run like that meant something.
It does.
In the he averaged nine. Okay, in that season, he went from averaging
I'm
almost
sorry,
15 points a
Alicia.
game to
I'm so
9.
sorry.
His efficiency cratered. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that was the next year. My bad. That was the sweep when they got swept by the Bucks. My bad. No, you actually did good in the playoffs his first year. But
Oh
like
wow, there it
since
is.
then, 12 points a game in the postseason. Like, I mean, that's
Um,
Austin Reeves numbers.
okay.
Like I mean, Austin Reeves, I might add, is in his third year. Like,
Yeah.
Tyler Hero's in his fifth. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
Hold on.
it's too
Not
early to
granted.
tell.
Not granted. They finished the season in October and then started the season again in like what January or December. So
Okay,
they
so
had
Hero
like
still has an extra season over Reeves.
okay.
This is Reeves' third season right now.
You got
All I'm
it.
trying to say,
Hey, you said what you said. I heard you.
no.
We have recorded. We have recorded at the 49-minute mark. Alicia, your New York Knickerbockers, the Knicks, got to the playoffs last year. Lost to the Miami Heat. The Heat and the Knicks, they share a rivalry. We all know all of this. But coming into this year, we talked about it many times last year. It started to seem like they're developing their own culture. They're starting to see some type of identity with the New York Knicks. But what do you think personally, with the start so far with the Knicks this year?
I think, like you mentioned, to start off with, one of the main focal points is Julius Randle and his struggles, and how just he said all the right things coming into the season. He said that he was mentally there, physically there, but when you watch him play, it's hard to see that he is mentally there. He's just, yes, I do think Randall is trash at this point. And I mean, I always was on the side of giving up Julius Randle. Like, I've been on that train pushing it as a conductor since the past season and a half. I feel like once he went against the fans and did all of that kind of stuff in like a season and a half ago, I was like off this guy, because you can't be that guy and have that kind of response in this market, number one, but you can't also have the results that he was having and still have that kind of tone and remarks that he did at that point. So I was really off Randall from that point on, but I was still giving him a chance because I obviously thought that bringing more pieces around him and having some more of a substance and sustainability around him would probably elevate him. Now, he has had injuries that he's dealt with, but I think that coming into this season, he just hasn't played well at a lot of points. I think that I see a flyer, like wasn't a meme, but it was just like something that was like, this boy's on tour, and all of his field goal percentages were like 420, 519, 427, and it's like, son, what is going on here? Your offense is trash. Defensively, you're not there. You're missing spots. And as for much Jalen Brunson praises that I have given him since he's gotten here, and obviously he's carried this offense to a certain point, you know, he's been that guy since he left Dallas, obviously, and came to New York. I just think that he can't do it alone. And we're such in a good space as an organization that we haven't been in a very long time. I just think that it's time to move on from Julius. I don't know where we go from here. I'm not as delusional as some people who try to say big and Joel Embiid. I'm not even going to say Karl Anthony Towns, because I think I've heard that too much. And I want to kill that right now, here and there, and say it out for the Lord to hear me. Please do not bring Karl Anthony Towns back to New York. I do not want to see it. He is not that guy to replace Julius Randle. But we have so many other good pieces that are also not playing well. I think at points where Julius lacks, you know, we have Dante DiVincenzo for a reason. We have Josh Hart for a reason. Like, some of these guys have to step up too offensively. Say that again?
You guys miss Obi.
We do miss Obi because we don't have a backup four. Yeah, I think that's right. We need a backup four. I think Mitchell Roberts. Of course. I feel like Obi brought what New York is. He's a New York guy. Like, he brought that New York energy into when he came up into the lineup, and he didn't get a lot of playing time. And it is unfortunate how his situation ended with New York and how him and Tibbs got into it a little bit. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that we don't have a backup four at this point in time. Mitchell Robinson has been playing well. Last night, his defense was amazing against Victor. I just think that we have pieces, but the main piece that we're looking at here is the problem. And when that's a problem, and we're in such a good space, it's like not that much drama going on in New York. You know what I mean? Like, it's not all of the extraness that is usually there, but it's just this one guy not playing well, and you're paying him so much money to be that focal guy. It's like, where do we go from here? And we have a lot of draft picks at this point. I think that's why we're in a good space. We have draft options and draft picks from first round, second rounds, picks that we have from other teams. Like, we have leverage. No, but we have leverage that I don't think that'll work. And I think when I thought about it, because I was on that train of bringing Donovan Mitchell over from Utah initially to New York, I was like, yeah, you know what? He's a New York guy. This can kind of work. But at this point, we have Jalen Brunson, which I feel like he can do the same things, number one. But also, Donovan Mitchell isn't playing that well in an offense right now that he's supposed to be the main guy with, that they're missing some pieces. And, Darius Garland.
He's like for second, third in the league of scoring.
Is his team doing well?
No, well,
I don't care about any of that other shit. Like, I'm asking, what do you bring to your team? Because he did that in Utah for the past 7 years, and what did his team do?
Well, first off, his team had more success than the New York Knicks has ever had since the goddamn.
That's fine, but he still didn't get anywhere. That's my point. We don't need to bring somebody else that's going to get us nowhere. We need somebody else that's going to take us over the hump against people like the Heat, people like the Celtics. I don't know. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. I don't know. We have leverage at this point. Like, once the trade deadline happens, guys start, having issues in different spaces, and you're like, maybe this guy wants to be moved. Maybe that guy wants to be moved. There's options that we can have, but at this point, I don't know where we go from here, but I just know Julius Randle has to go. Yeah. Like, he is the problem that has to go.
Yeah, Julius Randle, we could put this down in the little ticket there. Hassan Whiteside 2.0. We get all of that. It's sad, even though he's a little bit better version, a more tolerable version than Hassan Whiteside. Just watching Hassan Whiteside was just depressing. Matter of fact, watching Hassan Whiteside was similar to watching Antoine Walker in his very, very, when he had those 1 for 13 games and he moves like a snail. Anyways, the question I have for you, Alicia, last one, and I'll get to my Miami Heat, where they're going to finish in the East.
I think they'll finish 5 or 6.
Wow.
I think that
Okay.
we'll be better than the Pacers. I know the Pacers are above us. The Magic. There's a lot of teams. It's still early. Atlanta.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that are still playing well, have great records. But I do think we'll get it together. Some of these guys will start playing better offensively, and we'll finish about 5 or 6. Let's see. I think the trade deadline also. It's so sad. I'm already thinking about the trade deadline, and we're only in November. Like,
yeah. Okay. Well, with my Miami Heat, I know Heat lifers out there. We're not worried at all. I think we are still feeling great about what we did last year, what we accomplished as an 8th seed. But at the same time, too, we definitely had a lot of high aspirations of having Damian Lillard a part of our organization. I think it would have been a beautiful fit between on how he's no nonsense. He's all about basketball, and that's what the Heat culture is pretty much about. We did not have that. Now, with that being said, Tyler Hero has been playing exceptional. As you can see, he's going to be out. Heat delusional time by Kelz, 100%. He's going to be out for a while, but he's starting to show his playmaking ability, and I think that's crucial in regards of we know he can create his own shot. The Heat really desperately needed a scorer that can create their own shot. Jimmy Butler is not that person. Jimmy Butler is more of a bully ball, and Tyler Hero complements him. So I think the Heat are fine. I think I really am excited, even though we did not get Damian Lillard. I definitely feel like guys, calm down. We're basically tied for 3rd in the East right now. Let's pump the brakes. We're basically tied for 3rd. But I would be talking about trade deadline. A person that I'm going to watch, the situation I'm going to watch, is the Chicago Bulls, and I think Zach LaVine playing the 2 guard and having Tyler Hero play the point guard. I think that is going to make the Heat one of the most. That's going to make the Heat a very, 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 very tough team to beat. I'm not gonna lie, but with that being said, I will tell you this: I can guarantee that the Heat will be a top 4 team in the East. Can't tell you where. We can guarantee it. We can call that right now. We can clip this. We're almost at the hour mark. Because right now, the loss that we had, the Timberwolves, Jimmy Butler didn't play. We're still having a lot of our G League guys playing, and that's what the Heat do. The Heat start the year, they start with small little things. They ingratiate their G Leaguers or their two-way players to kind of get them acclimated, get their feet wet, little dip and dabble. Jaime, Jaquez, if I'm pronouncing his name right, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. I love him. I think he's well beyond his years, and I think he's going to be an impact player, not necessarily on the offensive end, but just what the Heat need to do Heat things, charges, defense, et cetera, et cetera. So, guaranteed we can book it top 4 for sure. Yeah. Anybody want to say anything? Go ahead, Corban, because it looks like you're chomping at the bit.
I mean, listen. Actually, this is a totally random question. What do you think about the Heat's new uniforms? The Heat culture ones. I'm sorry. Take it from a guy who's a little bit corny himself. That's so damn corny. Like
you said corny?
I said a little corny. You saw like the best fitness, most like what the fuck? Yes, I think it's a little bit corny.
That's the culture, and they take pride in it. You know, first off,
you take pride in so much you stitch it onto your clothes as you play. And I mean, mind you, I guess they did beat the Lakers that game. I'll give you that.
But this also complements, and we're talking about storylines. That was the biggest storyline of last year in A seed, and that biggest narrative that was hovering around the Miami Heat is the culture, and that is using marketing 101 and just continuing to build that brand, because that's what it is. And I think that's why when I'm talking about with Silver and all that good stuff, these little storylines is awesome for the game. We need to have that I guess we can call that fluff or whatever, because that has nothing to do with the schematics. And then also the undrafted players too. That's also a story. But guarantee, you know, a top 4th in the East. You got any problems with that, Alicia?
No, I'm just laughing at you not knowing your draft pick's name. And he was the guy coming into the season. Like, he was that guy. Like, everyone's like, he's such a Heat guy coming in. And, you know, he's going to fit in right well into the Heat organization. Nothing ever fall off with them. They're just going to move on like, you know, a well-oiled machine as they are. And what do the Heat do? They come back and do the same old ish that they started with last season.
But that's why there's no worry, there's no fret.
Yeah, but at what point? At what point do you want to start off well? At what point do you want to say yes, even though we know that we can be fine? We know Jimmy Butler can turn it up and turn it on. He's coming back into the season, just injuries or whatever that he's dealing with. Like he can come back into the season and get into mid-season form. At what point do you want to start off the season with your guys looking like your guys should be and just starting off well and not
they're
be
4-3?
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm saying they haven't looked great.
They see, they look good in
4-4,
spurts.
4-4.
They look good in spurts. A lot of their demise, they have 3 losses. 2 of those losses has come in the fourth quarter.
4 losses.
4 losses? My fault. You're right. 4 losses. They're 5-4. Are they 5-4 or is it 4?
No, they're
That's why I
4-4.
said 500 ball.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
come
gotcha.
on, Kelz, keep up.
Yeah, listen.
Sorry.
I'm
My Lakers
in.
are 6-1 last I checked. Oh wait, I haven't. Yeah, like.
Oh wait. But no, there's spurts where they look great. There's a lot of things that are fixable. But when you're looking at the big spectrum of things, when you continue to do the right things more times than not, the results will follow. It's a matter of being consistent throughout a whole 48-minute period. And sometimes that takes a lot. And again, they have a lot of new different pieces as well. When you're losing the likes of Max Strus and Gabe Vincent that were instrumental pieces of their success last year, it's about filling in and making the rinse and repeat. And I think Josh Richardson is a great an addition, somebody that has been a part of the organization. And yeah, like we're fine. We're fine. I do have one last question for the Lakers fan up here, because I really do want to know if he's just tired of getting our scraps and our scraps not being worth anything to the Lakers, because it's Kendrick Nunn one year and then it's Gabe Vincent the next. Gabe Vincent is not going to thrive in the system. There are system players and they thrived in the system. They're not going to survive in LA.
So I will say this: I was hyped for Gabe Vincent just because I wanted to see what bull you'd spin about how losing Gabe Vincent was great. But I gotta say, I mean, that's the thing. It's system players for like average ball underdog stories. Like that's the Miami Heat, the Jimmy Butler era. Like that's what they are. But that's not the point.
I wouldn't even say the Jimmy Butler era. I mean, it's pretty much
you had Shaq and Wade. You had the big 3. I would definitely say, yeah. Okay. I would definitely say that. But what I would say is this: I was not a fan of Gabe Vincent for the Lakers. Last thing I thought that we needed, and Rob Pelinka has a type, is undersized guards who aren't quite consistent scorers, have a big playoff run, can't really defend their position like adequately. They're better team defenders than man defenders. And then you put them in a position where you're going to be guarding guards. They're going to be taller than you too, since your best players are your 4 and your 5. Like that's just a personnel thing. Like I would have rather gone for Max Strus. You get more consistent shooting. You get a bigger body. You know what I mean? Like exactly. Defensively, he's gonna do about the same. Like Gabe tries. The effort, the eye test looks good, but like, come on now. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying like it looks good. Like the results don't matter. The results don't matter in the eye test. The results don't matter in the numbers. Like bottom line, the guy scores. But look at Gabe banging the post against Aaron Gordon or whatever. Like whatever. So no, I will say this. You're right. Like. At the end of the day, I don't, run the Lakers. So, like, I have to live with the rules the team made, and just like they did with Kendrick Nunn, which I was a little more on Kendrick Nunn because I thought we just need a guy with that iteration of the team to come off the bench and get buckets, except he didn't get buckets. And then he was
that was tough.
Now he's playing in Israel or something. Or not Israel, China. He's not in China, not in Israel. He's in another country. Bottom line, you're right. I will give you that. Like, and that's the thing I like about the Heat, but I also think it's inferior about them. Like, I don't think it makes them well-rounded basketball players. I think it makes them players that fit the Miami Heat system. Because they're well-rounded basketball players, and for the most part, they will perform as basketball players outside the Heat system because they're basketball players. Like, I think they came in as players, and the Heat geared them to this one specific role, and they performed various, levels of adequate in that role. I think for both Strus and Vincent, they played well in the regular season. They kind of came on a tear in the playoffs. They were up and down the regular season. You would know it's better than I would. They were up and down the regular season, went on a tear in the playoffs, and it just went ice cold in the finals. Like, that's what I'd say that they fit. But, like, now, I mean, Strus is doing okay in Cleveland. And Vincent's honestly been injured too much for it to really be a thing. But mind you, shooting, and this isn't a misquote, 7% from three. And yes, early sample size, but I can tell you right now, it's not for lack of trying. Like, I don't know. I agree with you. I just think the Lakers need to have a better idea of what roster construction works for them. Because in my mind, taking a third guard who is undersized, who tries hard on defense but gives up a lot and isn't a great shooter, with your other two guards who are also defensively challenged and good shooters, but not it's a lot.
It's a shit show. I get it. Alicia, you have any final words for the beautiful audience that are listening for Let's Ball Out?
Thank you guys so much for listening. We will try to be back on a consistent schedule. It's been a little bit difficult, but we are making it do what it do. So thank you guys again for listening. You can follow us individually on our socials. That'll be in the description link below. And yeah, we'll be back when we'll be back. Thank you guys and peace out.